Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello.
Hello.
You can't even look at me after you say that.
I can't look at you while I'm going through the whole spiel. I have to look away so I can concentrate. Remember?
Because it makes you laugh?
Yes, because it makes me laugh. And I might get distracted. But I was distracted. I'm looking at, what are you drinking?
Tea?
Is that what that bottle is? Is tea?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were like doing like a cleanse or something.
Oh,
I was
no,
like, I wonder
no.
what
This
she's
is
doing.
it's like a Crystal Light package. You put it in water and it makes
all
like a
right.
tea flavored.
I was like, you're trying to get all cleansed. What's in that one? The
Water.
teal. Okay. And what's in that one?
Oh, nothing.
All right. We won't talk about what's in that glass there.
Dang, why you always calling me
I'm
out,
just saying.
man?
I was getting distracted because I was like, man, she has a lot of cups.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of
liquids
dishes
all around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Oh,
but
that's
you
a
always have
candle.
Okay, yeah, no, you're good. But you always have a good spread. You got fruit and cookies and all kinds of goodies and trail mixes and stuff. So, but how you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah,
Yes.
super well.
Yes, all super well. Super duper.
So from this light, I'm looking at your hair, and it looks like it's the. I don't know if you know the Marvel character. What's her name? Rogue. She has like a little gray patch. I mean, your hair's not gray, but the light, the way it's hitting it, looks like you have a little gray patch right
I
there.
actually do. I have a rogue.
Oh, it's on the wrong side. I'm looking at you. It's on this side.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's on this side, but
Yeah.
I do have one. I
Where is
color
this?
my hair, but I do have
Did you get like spooked out when you were a kid? Because I thought that was an old wives' tale, is that if you get scared, it would bring on gray hairs.
No,
Are you
that's
sure?
not.
Like a poltergeist or something? Like something
No.
happened when you were a kid?
No,
and
it's
it
hereditary.
was an older lady that
Yeah.
came and exercised the whole house?
No, but I mean, my gray hair's all over, but I have a prominent streak, and I've always had that since I was like 18, 19.
Yeah. See, I wish I had one of those that, like, if I got older.
We'll
and I got
dye
of
you
those-
one.
No, but I want it natural, where they have like one streak in a really cool
We'll
spot.
do it for you. You don't have to tell anyone that it's bleached.
What is it called? The bouffant or whatever? The front? Like if it was just that and everything else was black. You know what I mean? Like
We can do it.
It kind of looked like Pepe Le Pew a little bit. That's the only bad part about that.
And
So I might wanna
he was a
rethink
pervert.
that. He was. Don't get into Pepe Le Pew because that poor guy he would have had harassment suits left and right if he was a real person. Like he was, yeah. But he was French. You know the French there,
What?
Oh, ooh la la.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, they're all into it, man. So, but so today we're gonna be doing something slightly different. We've done it before, but so we put different topics into a hat, right? We don't know what we're gonna talk about, but it's in a hat. So we're gonna pick from the hat, and we're also gonna incorporate the 8-ball.
Yes, Mr. 8-Ball. If you don't remember, we did introduce him in our long distance relationship episode. He first appeared and helped us ask some questions about
The
relationships.
old wise 8-ball. He's a straight
He's
shooter.
still been 100%.
Yeah, he's a straight shooter.
You ask me things all the time when we're not recording, and I'm like, boom, here's the answer.
You know what I mean? He doesn't mince words. Well, sometimes he does, but you get the point. It's either a yes or a no.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll draw from the hat the different topics, and then we'll ask the 8-ball if that's the one we should do. And if the 8-ball agrees, then we'll go forward. If the 8-ball doesn't, then we'll put it to the side for
And we're
our next
using our
episode.
dope hat like the first time we did it.
Yes.
Oh,
and so-
dope hat. That's a Marilyn Manson song. Okay, I'm picking something. All right, let's see. Oh, wait. So we have to ask. I'm going to read it to you, and then we ask Mr. 8-Ball.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, so this one says, she loves me not.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. 8-Ball, should we do an episode on she loves me not?
What does the 8-ball say? Does it say yes?
Ooh, it says outlook good.
All right. So,
Okay.
wow, on the first.
Dang, Mr. 8-Ball, we get it. You want to find out, does she love you? Does she love you not?
Yes. So, and you have to forgive me because when I was thinking of these topics, I was probably inebriated at the time.
That's when you get all your juices flowing.
Yeah. Or maybe I was on a CBD gummy too. So I don't know. It's one or the other.
Who knows what planet you were on, but you were somewhere else.
Yeah, but it was, it was, but it gave me a couple of ideas. I wrote a bunch of these down. So she loves me not is just that old tale, right? Where you just don't know if a person's into you or not.
Mm.
And so, and don't get me wrong, like obviously you can have a conversation, but even during a conversation, you don't know if they're actually telling you the truth or not. You know what I mean?
So you're taking it's all faith on what they're saying is the truth. If they say they care about you, you have to believe it.
Yeah, sure. But even before we get to that step,
Oh,
let's just say that you're dating, right? It's
okay.
somewhat of a casual date. Things are going good. And you kind of think that they're into you as much as you're into them, but you really don't know. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And you don't really want to bring it up because it's like, I don't know, there's something about bringing it up. And don't get, if it's a problem, sure.
Yeah.
I think you should talk about things that are bothering you. That's different
But
versus,
how far into the
well,
relationship?
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like, what if
Mm,
you're feeling sparks right from the get go and it's like the second or third date and you're like, man, I'm really enjoying
I love
her
you.
company.
I love her, man.
No, but it'll go into that too. Like
Yeah.
whether or not you do love him. But let's start with whether or
Okay.
not she likes me first.
Okay.
Like how into like I don't know for women, how do you gauge when a dude is into you or not? Because I've heard horror stories, right, where
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, we dated for a while and things were great. It was fantastic." And
Mm.
then one day I just never heard from him anymore or something changed or
I
whatever.
feel like there's always signs before that happens, and we may not see it while it's happening. But like, if a guy's kind of like he's on the outs, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna start like popping up where like, oh, I can't come and see you. I got to go do this thing, or like, oh, I'm
Mm.
sorry I didn't text you. Blah blah. It's like if you like that person, you're gonna make time for them
Stop.
regardless.
Sometimes things come up.
Not
Sometimes,
that long.
come
Not for
on.
days.
I
Come on
mean,
now.
I-
I'm just saying that if he starts making himself unavailable, like physically, like I can't be there, I can't do that. It's like, no, dude, it's just like with like losing weight. It's like if we really wanted to lose weight, we would do it. But like, you know what I'm saying?
would
You
we?
have to really want it.
I mean, I really want it, but I really want this donut too. How do I reconcile those two
I
things?
don't know.
Can I have both? Can I eat the donut and work out and want to be skinny too?
Uh-uh.
Somebody invent a pill where I could do that,
Oh,
where I
that'd
could
be
eat
the
just
best.
garbage and just continue to lose weight.
Or we do like the Willy Wonka where the gum tastes like food. I don't think that would satisfy me though.
No, no, that's weird. I would much rather they invent a pill that you eat garbage and then it turns it into nutritional food.
Like it goes in like a burrito, but it comes out like a broccoli.
Well, kind of, sort of,
Well,
yeah.
not comes out.
The way it processes is like
Yeah,
broccoli with all the
like
vitamins
broccoli.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah, being silly, but no, what were we talking about? Because now I forgot we were on our. I
The
got on my
lesbian,
tangent.
just find out if she likes you or not.
Yeah.
I was saying
Oh,
that if a guy makes time for you, if you want to lose weight, you're going to make time for it if you really want it. If you
yes.
really want to see your girl or this girl you're talking to, you're going to make time, bro. I don't care how busy you are at work or your kids or you got to work out and whatever. Like, no, if
Gotta
you
work
like
out.
her, you're going to make
I had
time.
like 2 donuts today. I have to. No, but what I was gonna say is that one time I was talking to this one lady, and she was telling me that she knew when they were kind of done
Yeah.
because of the text.
Yeah.
They deviated from the text, and as soon as she saw it, she was like,
That's what I'm saying.
It's
He's
done."
already telling her, like, I'm really not interested anymore.
So we're pretty obvious, aren't we?
I mean, most of the time, it's
I
not
think-
going to go from like, oh my God, you're the best. And then you just never hear from him. There's going to be a sign like,
Well, I think for guys, I think women do that too. Like the way you guys gonna give us subtle hints, we're just harder at taking.
yeah, you guys
hints.
don't get it. No, it just made me think of back when I remember going on some dates with like people. And let's say we had a few dates, but I can always tell when the last one was. It's a feeling. You know what I mean? When you
the
say
way you
like,
parted.
yeah, just, or even the vibe the whole night, it's like, this dude's already out. We could tell for the most part. And like when they drop me off or I leave from the location, I'm like, yep, that was it. I already know.
Wow.
And
Like
then
that,
either
bro?
I get ghosted or, I mean, like I wouldn't text them. Like if I knew, I'm like, I'm not going to reach out to you, but like you just never hear from them.
It's like a weird date of some sorts, right? Because I've had that before too, where I had that feeling, and I think I've even called you once or twice when that happened. Like there was something about the last time, something's going on. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but
See,
something's going
you know,
on.
you got the intuition
Yeah,
too.
but I'm different though. I'm more in tuned. I'm more in tuned into my female side. Let's just put it that way, right? But
So what advice would you give the guys then? Just like you really need to pay attention to the like subtle cues. that a woman's giving you? If she's not that interested, she's giving you those signals too. The guy may not pick up on it because he can't recognize it.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
even if you're getting that, right, like you don't know how to handle it. I mean, in my case, and maybe in yours too, you just kind of slow down the communication
Right.
and then let them initiate it because you're thinking, okay, it was weird.
Yeah.
So, but I've also done that before, but where I text somebody, let's say it was a weird date and you text somebody and you don't hear back, maybe it takes them longer to
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
They normally respond within the hour, perhaps, and I hate to be that guy. You know what I mean? Because the way the way I look at a text message
Uh-huh.
is very similar to the way I view snail mail,
Uh-huh.
which is to say, I'm going to send it to you, and then whenever it is that you get it and
Yeah.
read it, that's when you'll respond.
Yeah.
I know that's naive because in some cases, if you don't like somebody, you'll read it and you just won't respond back to it. So it's not exactly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why, like snail mail, that's the way it was. You sent them a letter, and then
What
eventually
if your
they wrote
feelings
you back.
change by the time you mail it to the time that it gets to the person? You don't like them anymore in 3
That could be
days.
it. That's when they used to write letters. Does anybody write letters anymore?
Oh, like a Dear John.
Like just love letters in general.
Oh, I don't know. If you're out there, please start writing love letters. That's the most beautiful. Oh God,
I've received some love letters
I
from
have
women,
too, but
and
it's been a long time. Yo quiero más, por favor. Send me a love letter, man. Come on. You know you want to. Just write it down on paper.
I remember when I got it. It did touch my heart,
Yeah.
really hard. And I've been fortunate enough that I've had a few love letters in my time, and yeah, it's something special because they had to handwrite it. It was thoughtful. You have to think it through, right? Because you can't. It's not like you can delete, and then
It
start
made me
all
think of
over.
that kid crying, like, love letters to Jose.
Yeah. So, but they were great. It just it was a moment in time. However, it is that they were feeling when they were thinking, and then they have to be thinking about you when they're writing
Yeah.
because they're tailoring it specifically.
It takes so much
towards you.
time too. You got to get the paper. You got to sharpen the pencil.
Wow.
You got to sit down.
Oh my gosh,
You
I'm
got to
tired
think about,
already.
and you can't make mess ups. You can't do
what
scribbles,
I'm
right? So you
saying.
got to do a beautiful
You have
writing,
to think it
spell
through.
everything right.
You have to think it through, man.
Yeah.
You have to think it
That's
through.
the effort part.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sweet. And then you got to go get a stamp, and then you got to put the stamp, and then you got to go out to the mailbox, and then
Yes.
you wait patiently by for the mailman.
Well, that's
to
what I'm
pick it up.
saying. So I look at text messages very much. I don't really get bogged down by whether or not they reply back quickly versus sometimes I kind of want them to not text me back immediately. You know what I mean? Because let's say you're watching a movie, and this happens a lot. I'm watching a movie and I'm chilling out, right? And let's say I start thinking about a certain person, right? And maybe you're not really wanting to start up a full conversation, but just like, hey, what are you doing? You know, you're just thinking about them. You just say, what's
Well,
up?
you got
What are
to do
doing?
it around your TV
You know,
schedule,
well,
Jose.
that's what I'm saying. And then you hit them up, and then they come back with something elaborate, and then they start asking you questions. So now you're gonna start messaging, and I'm
You're like,
trying to watch.
I got
Love is
pizza
Blind on
bagels in
Netflix.
the oven. They're almost ready.
But yeah, because now you're like, okay, now it's turning into a conversation,
Yeah.
and you know that because you're engaged in it. So then here's what happens at that point.
Oh no.
You have to figure out a way to end the conversation without saying,
I'm watching a movie.
Right.
Don't bother me.
Yes. And there's subtle ways that I do that, and I'm sure they catch on. But usually it'll be if I send like an emoji or two. That's
Okay.
usually how I'll end
Okay.
the conversation.
That's a nice way.
Like, you know what I mean? Instead of saying like, hey, I can't talk no
That's
more.
a very nice way. I know now.
Yeah. So if I ever do it
I
to
think
you.
you've given me that before.
But it's a nice way of doing it, and you get the point because I'm not asking you
shouldn't
questions.
have told me.
anyway.
Now I know. It's like now every time I'm telling you all this stuff, I'm going off, and you just send me a smiley face emoji. I'm like, man, that fool watching TV.
Well,
He watching a
what
documentary.
it also implies too, though, because it might not be. Maybe I'm at work, or maybe I'm just not in a position to really do that. It tells the other person I read it, acknowledged it, but I can't reply.
Don't backpedal now.
No, I'm just saying. For whatever reason, but I do sometimes a lot of why I start watching TV, or if like I'm having movie night with my kids or something, I can't really get into it too much.
So
right?
if in regards to the she loves me not. So if you're texting a girl, to you try not to take it personal if it does take her a while, because you try to think like, well, maybe she's doing something.
Right.
Whenever she gets it and she sees it, she'll
Right.
respond. So how long do you give them though?
It could range, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the one time, this one girl, we excuse me, we connected on a dating app. We exchanged numbers, and we were messaging each other for a little bit, and then I got really super busy. Like I got work, got crazy. I wasn't texting anybody at that point.
Okay.
And I think we went like a week or two without texting. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I initiated the conversation again. And she was receptive to it. But again, it was early on. So I think we hadn't had a first date at that point.
Okay.
So then we started talking, and I started being more engaged because I'm like, okay, I'm reaching out. So I should,
Yeah.
don't start nothing you can't finish. Like, but then, yeah, we started messaging. So, stuff happens. And I've always, me, I'm always assuming. I never assume that it's me. I always assume something happened on your end. That's just because I know other people.
What a pleasant way to think about that. She's just busy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think every single time. Even if they're not interested, like eventually I get the hint. If I send out a feeler and I don't get anything back, it's like, okay, she clearly is not interested anymore. But if they keep on replying back, then to me it indicates, you just didn't have time to text at that time.
Were you able to ask that woman if she felt like because you haven't talked to her in a week that you were interested in her? Did you have to explain, I've just been busy?
She didn't ask, but I told her. That's kind of the opener, really.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm sorry. I know I haven't messaged you in a while, but this is what's
That's
been
good to
happening
lead
in
with
my
an
life.
apology.
Yeah,
That's real good. You smart.
Because it's like that. It's like that. And sometimes life gets in the way, right? But we tend to our own neuroses. Sometimes it's like, is it me? Do they not like me? Like, did she lost interest in me? And sometimes that does happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I don't immediately go to that space. I'm usually like, she's probably busy. I mean, I'm busy too, so you know what I mean? I'm not just sitting around waiting for her to text me back or whatever.
It makes me think about how you say all the time back when we were watching Love is Blind and all that, and you'd say like the most frustrating thing it felt like to you is people needed so much reassurance.
Yeah.
And your whole thing is like, look, I proposed. That means I want to marry you. Why you continue to ask me?
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's the not knowing. It's the, is she interested? Is she not? Is this for real? Is she not all in? Like it's all of that.
Well, and then you have to initiate the conversation of exclusivity, right? And that's where it's going to lead to. And so sometimes you don't ask, right? Because again, and I know there's a lot of people like, I don't really mess around. I ask right off the bat. I'm straightforward. And that's great. Wonderful for you. I'm sure you go into a job interview and say, do I have the job? Yes or no? Because if not, I'm out the door. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? You go to a date and it's like, is this a love connection or not? Because if it's not,
I wish someone would do that. That'd be really, just as a prank,
Right.
just the first time you meet someone, just come in blazing like that.
Look, is this going to happen or should I save my money? Because it's, but... No, but seriously, because I see that on dating apps and stuff. Like, I'm really blunt. I'm really straightforward. If you don't have time, don't mess around. It's like, I get that, but social norms.
When you talk about these
dictate
women's profiles, it's always like they're yelling. Don't even try.
Because they put it in caps.
I mean, but
and that's the universal way of telling somebody that they're yelling.
Saying,
Yes.
why are
put it
they
in
so
caps.
mad? It's just your profile.
I don't know.
Shouldn't you be sweet?
I don't know.
Save the crazy for later.
Well, it's very aggressive, right? Because they're like, I'm really straightforward. Don't mess around. Don't message me if you're here to play games. And don't get me wrong. It's sad that we even have to post things like that, to be honest with you.
I'm not blaming the women. I'm just saying.
No, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a sad thing. Like something, they've had enough experiences to put that out. Not that it's going to help. It does not help, ladies. So I can tell you right now, do not.
Would that attract a skeezy guy if he saw, they'd be like, oh, this is going to be easy to manipulate? Because it's kind of showing like you've been through some things, probably emotional right now. You're like...
It depends on the guy. So are you talking about...
I'm talking about a sleazy guy.
A sleazy guy?
Yeah.
A sleazy guy, depending on how sleazy is it.
Is that a term we use now? Sleazy?
Yeah.
I don't think...
Sleazy?
We still say that?
I say it all the time.
All the time.
All the time. They're sleazy people.
Every day, just sleazy.
Sleazy. But I would say they might really take it to a next level and be like, I'm going to get her. Like, it's a challenge.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's those guys. So wouldn't it attract some guys like that?
It can. And usually those guys are going to, when they approach you, they're going to come as sweet as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And for me, no matter who I'm talking to, it's always a genuine hello. And that's usually how I started out. Yeah. I don't get a lot of responses back, but that's usually how I started out is hello and very, like I don't usually open up by like,
with the
hey,
eyes
sweetie.
emojis.
Well, that's the other thing. Like sometimes they'll like, hey, baby, what's going on? Or hey, sweetie, or hey, cutie, or something like that. I don't do that. I
That can
usually,
come off as creepy.
right. Because that's what I'm saying. Like you're trying to be sweet, but it can come off, again, depending on the profile pic, could come off as sleazy. Because if he's like totally handsome, you're like, I don't know, what's up with you?
He's like double your age. You're like, no.
Yeah. But yeah, you just they put that on there, and so I get it. So sometimes, again, my whole point is that you have to have that conversation. So as blunt as people like to be, or straight shooters, whatever you want to call them, right? It's not always, because the problem is, what if they are not into you as much? Like you
Yeah.
haven't given it enough time to cultivate. I think sometimes when that conversation happens, if it happens organically, you could either tell that she's going to start to pull away, or he's going to pull away, or they'll get a little closer and they're having a really good time, and it's like on the tip of their tongue. They just want to hurry up and get it out of the way.
Yeah. So like the woman's trying to like basically say, are we doing this for real? Like,
Yeah,
are we going to be
right,
exclusive? And
right.
it's like really early on.
Yeah.
And you're like, I like you, but like, I don't know yet. It's so soon.
It could be that too, right? It could be. That's what I'm saying. Like you just don't know.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you really want to know if they're as into you as you are into them,
Yeah.
it might benefit you to wait a little bit before you initiate that conversation. Like give it some time, give it a little more time.
Yeah.
And then when you're really jiving and really like trucking along, I don't know if they still say it. That was a 70s saying, by the way.
Trucking along.
Trucking along. But then you might be like, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Like, I'm totally into you. I'm not dating anybody else. I don't know if you're dating shit. And sometimes when you have that conversation, they might come back saying, no, I'm not dating anybody else either. You're the
Or
only
you
one.
could play like little tests to see. I know I told you this story, but a friend of mine was dating a girl for like 3 months. And every morning he said he would send her a good morning text. And he never really got any initiation from her text wise.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 months in, and he was like, okay, I'm not going to send a good morning text today to see what happens. He never spoke to her ever again.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, I'm going to test you to see if you're into me or not. Because if you're into me, why wouldn't you text me? Hey, I haven't heard from you. You usually text me first. Good morning. How are you?
I would just say that for him, he probably didn't need to do that. He probably could, I'll put it to you this way. If I knew this dude, I would look at his phone and say, let me see your phone. I'll tell you immediately whether or not
Oh,
she's
so
into
he
you.
couldn't pick up on the cues.
Exactly.
Okay.
I would have said, let me see your phone and I'll tell you exactly.
Yeah,
whether or
because you're not going to be having an amazing 3-month relationship and
Right.
then one day
And you're like, how you doing?
what?
And then like her message reply, good. You know what I mean? Like, how was your day? It was okay. You know what I mean?
I didn't
Like,
think about maybe him being not a great match for her, where she was like, eh.
that's what I'm saying. You can look at it.
Yeah.
Next time if you talk to him, or I don't know if you're still in touch with this person, but I would say look at if anybody ever comes with you advice, like I can't tell, look at the text and you'll see.
Man, you just trying to read people's texts.
No, don't read them. Just look at the length of all of them.
But
Just scroll through
even
and
the
look at the
context
length.
of it, like you could tell if it's like they're politely trying to brush you off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be like, what
It's
did you
almost like
eat
an acquaintance at work.
Yeah, if you say, "What'd you eat for lunch today?" and I write back maybe hamburger, and maybe this is not always the case,
Yeah.
but I just say hamburger, or I can say, "Well, I got a hamburger from my favorite hamburger joint. It's
Right.
called this, and this is
Exactly.
what I had on it,
Yeah.
and blah blah blah." And
Exactly.
full
Exactly.
belly emoji or
Exactly.
whatever. Is there
Exactly.
emoji for that?
Full belly emoji?
Yeah.
I don't know. There should be though. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. For me, you don't need to even read the context. Just look at the length. And that's your first. Now, if it's dead even, then you want to look at the context, because that's going to give you a few more clues of where she kind of
I
stands.
usually
out.
don't text really long, do I?
Yes, because you talk everything through. You don't text.
Oh, that's true.
You
Well, I'm
speak into the phone with all your thoughts at one time, instead of like a regular person, condense your thoughts into one nice little whatever.
No, I want you to hear my rants.
Yes,
I
'cause
want you to tell.
When you text me, I can hear how you're thinking things through the whole entire text. 'Cause it's
You
like
know me too damn well,
2
man.
pages, and I'm like, she's talking to her phone again. Hey, I was just thinking about this, and the next time, but then I also thought this, so never mind. We'll talk later. Like, what? What? Why did she? And you're laughing because you know
I
do
know
that.
it's true.
And that's why I just give you a thumbs up, like, got you. And that's my reply.
I just got to talk out my thoughts to somebody.
That's what I'm saying. Like you came to the whole conclusion all on your own text. I didn't require me to be a part of that really at all. It actually didn't even need to be sent, to be honest with you, because you said at the very end, we'll just talk about it. I'm on the
I
fence,
know,
but
but
we'll
I gotta
talk about it.
say it. Or
Yeah.
what if I forget? Sometimes I'll text you like, remind me the next
I'm
time
your
we talk.
notepad? Is
Yeah.
that-
Sometimes I scroll back through our text and be like, okay, I told him I had to tell him something about this, something about this, something about this.
yeah.
I got a laundry list of things to talk to you about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's why I give you the thumbs up. But yeah. So then let's just say you have to talk about exclusivity, right? And let's say you're on the same page, and again you're rolling along, right? You're just going with
Trucking
it,
along.
trucking along, and things are good. Maybe a little. Let's just say things get comfortable,
Okay.
right? And now you have to start thinking about the next phase, which is the L word, right? Because now you're really thinking about that. It's like, okay, we've been dating, 6 months, let's say 9 months. And it's like, okay, like, we're exclusive. We're pretty good. Like everything's kind of rolling. And I think I love her, but I don't know. And then, then the question becomes, well, what if, does she love me? I don't know.
And the anxiety of that.
Yes, yeah. So now you got the L word on your brain. Now maybe it's maybe guys don't think about it too much. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know how females do it. I don't know if women have the same. If it happens like that for women.
Yeah, I think we can feel there's a shift in our like feelings overall where it's like, whoa, this is something way more than like he's like it's way more than that. I don't know. And then you try to process your feeling about it and you're like, and then when you come to that conclusion, then you're just like, okay, now just don't say it. Don't slip up and say, I love you. Or when you hang up the phone, when they do it on accident, that's a Freudian slip. You're like, okay, bye, talk to you later, love you. And you're like, oh
sometimes
no.
though it's not even a slip. Sometimes they knew that they were going to do it. Like that was the handle.
Why would you do it at the end of the call for the first time?
Because they want to
easy out.
Yes, because think about that. It's brilliant, right? So you're not sure, and if you say it, at least that's going to be the end of the conversation, not the beginning of like you wouldn't start out.
No, not start out.
You know what I'm saying? So
but
you
like
leave
into
that,
the conversation, you say like, there's something I've been wanting to tell you.
Because if you say it towards the end of the conversation, right? And let's just say, you're talking to her and say, all right, well, I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye. And, or, say love you or whatever. And then if you do it that way, there's many ways that you can do it, but let's just say you did it that way, right? And it was by intent. And then let's say after you say love you and you pause, and if she doesn't reciprocate and she's like, okay, we'll see you later.
Even if I did feel like I love him, that would be a terrible time to say it for the first time. Right before you hang up, I want it to be more sweet.
But let's just say that they do reciprocate.
Okay.
Like you hang up and now you got goosebumps all over you because you're like, oh, they said it back. And especially if they didn't take too long to say it back.
You'd be
like it was right there on the tip of their tongue too.
Yeah.
And they just said it back naturally. And you're like, oh, that's awesome. Now, again, there's many different ways that you can go about it. In person, typically, like let's say you had the conversation. It's like, look, let me sit you down. And we're talking, let's say we're having a nice dinner and we just finished and now we're having a nightcap, whatever, right? And you start like, hey, just wanted to tell you, this whole time's been really amazing and stuff. And, I think that's one way of doing it.
I like that way.
But that's what I'm saying. There's still that she loves me not. You don't know because you're putting yourself out there. And don't get me wrong, you got to take a shot. But there is the possibility that she could say, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the person on the phone. So like, let's say the guy says, I love you, and he's telling the girl, and then he pauses, and then she says, okay, bye. The face of the woman after she hangs up the phone, because we're going to be like, what the F was that? Like, what just happened?
We changed up the game, girl. That's what just happened. We're going to the NBA now. We're going to we're up at the elite.
And the guy's all devastated.
I mean, it would be hard on him because he's like, you put yourself out there.
She'd probably have to reach out to you the next time. You probably wouldn't text her first.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, let's say you had that and it was the different setting where you're having a romantic dinner or whatever. And she comes back and she's like, hey, I'm not ready to say that. Or whatever, right? That's still also going to be devastating. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The hard part about that scenario is that you still have to say goodbye, except now it's awkward because I've just told you something.
So it's just protecting your feelings about being embarrassed and having to look at them in the face still after
Well,
you've been.
so look at it from the guy that put himself, or the girl. Let's say the girl says it first. It's like, look, babe, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think I love you, whatever, however women talk.
I think I love you.
So there's going to be a reaction if it's not what you want. And you're going to have to try to hide that as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, but
So-
why can't you just say it in the middle of the phone call? You're still on the phone, so you're still guarded by she can't see you. But don't say it at the very end.
But then you're going to have to talk about it. You're going to have to talk about it. To a certain degree, you're going to have to talk about it.
I just don't like saying at the very end because you're throwing me off because I just heard new words in place of what the other words used to be when we hang up the phone, like talk to you later. Now it's I love you. I'm trying to process what you just said, and it's weird.
No, and that's what, maybe the phone call is not the best way. I'll give you that. Maybe the phone is not the best way. So let's scrap that. But either way,
Write them a love letter.
it's going to be, yeah, I think you could do that too, I suppose. I don't know how. Like, you don't know if she got it or not.
She never mentions it again.
Unless it was certified. But even if it's certified, you know it got delivered, but that doesn't necessarily mean she read it.
Yeah.
So you just
Why would she
never-
not open a letter from her boyfriend though in the mail?
But, you know, if it gets lost in the...
No, I'm saying if she did get it. If she signed the certified letter, but she just saw it was from her boyfriend, but she's like, I'm not gonna, I ain't got time.
But it's still, it's one of those things that you never know when they're into you as much as you're into them, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can develop too. Like maybe at the time you didn't, you weren't thinking about it, but the attraction grew and grew and grew, and then it turned into something more.
Yeah, but they always say that in a relationship, there's always one person that's into the other one more. Even if you're married, like there's always one that's a little bit more.
I wouldn't even know how to gauge that.
That's
Sometimes it's obvious, yes,
Yeah.
that the dude, but I think, I don't know. I don't know. I think
It
about
is
that.
hard
and
to
maybe,
gauge, but if you're looking at straight like things that they do for you, so some acts of service, they're very loving, they speak very highly of you all the time. You know, just I would base it on your actions. And if I didn't really love you as much, maybe those people are not willing to do as much. It's like, okay, well, I'm here and I'm nice to you, and that should be enough.
That's what I'm saying. I think it depends on how they express it, because just they might not do any of those things, which you might do,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean, again, that they don't.
I know. That's the hard part.
That's what I'm saying. She loves me. She loves me not. I don't know. You know what they used to do back in the day? They get flowers and pick off the,
Oh,
the
yeah,
petals.
we did that.
Yeah. So you get like a little daisy, I
Yeah.
think, or sunflower, and you start picking. 'cause you
Sunflower, don't they have a lot on the sunflower, right? That's a lot of petals.
Yeah. Or maybe it was a daisy. I don't know. But the point was still the
Yeah.
same, is that it's like the 8-ball. Is
I
it or
remember
is it
being in
not?
grade school, and that was the answer. It's like, okay, here's this flower. I'm going to find out if Jacob likes me or not.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like, well, it must be true because the flower
universe-
said so.
Yes.
Yeah.
It stopped at she loved me. That was the last one. But it's the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we can't, we have a hard time with unknowns.
Yeah.
To the point that we go to superstition and we start ripping flowers until we get the answer we want. It's like, dang it, another she loved me not. Let me
Yeah.
grab another one.
2
This
out
one
of
was
3.
faulty. I got the last 10 were defective. Let
Yeah.
me try this one out. And especially, I didn't even think about this. I don't even know if those flowers always have a set amount of petals.
Oh, good question.
Because now you're screwed. Because didn't they do that? I know they did them with daisies, but they might have been able to do them with roses too, maybe?
That have like a certain amount.
Yeah. But if it's a fixed number, then you're kind of screwed. It depends on how you start out.
That's
the
true.
sequence.
Or what if it's a situation where the wind blew some of the other ones off naturally, and then that was the only flower, and you picked it up and already had some missing. You just don't know how many. It's like roulette.
Well, but here's the other thing too. Like, I was just thinking about this. What if, let's say you do want to bring up the L word and you do this big romantic gesture, but they misunderstand. And maybe they're thinking that they're going to get proposed to or something like that.
Or what if you are proposing and you didn't find out if your girl was going to say yes or not, like kind of on the
Whoa.
DL, and then she says no in front of everybody? Would you ask a marriage proposal at the end of the call and be like, all right, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. You want to get married? Okay, bye.
No, because I mean that's a tough spot.
Yeah.
You know, we watch that Love Is Blind all the time, and they're constantly asking, "Are you going to do this? Are we going to get married? Do you
Yeah.
have any reservations?" And obviously that's amplified, right? Because they have a short time frame, and it's like already a set date,
And they don't really know each other, so there's not the trust really building.
right? Versus like if it was done, like let's say again, if it's not a show,
Yeah.
you can, even if you're going to get married, you can always move the date back until you set a date.
Right.
Like once you set a date, that's it. At first, it's just we agreed we're going to get married.
Sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future, like we've made that commitment. But again, until you say I do,
Right.
you can always back out of it, right? Up until that moment, you can always back out of it. So
Isn't it? Don't you have to sign the marriage proposal before the wedding, or is that the day after?
no, the day of the marriage license.
Yeah.
It's the day of. As soon as you give.
How do you find time for that when you got a wedding to go to?
No, because you do the wedding, right? So you do the wedding, and after the ceremony, like when everybody starts
there's
clapping,
somebody
they
like-
take you away for a second, and they say, "Okay, I need you to sign."
Okay,
these
so there's like a
documents."
notary there.
I don't. It's whoever's presiding over the wedding.
So you don't need a notary for his signature?
No, I don't think you need a notary. Period.
But
Because whoever's presiding over
then how is it a legal document? How do we know that I didn't just sign?
Because it's a marriage
Reverend
license. You have to apply for a
someone's
marriage
name.
license.
I know, but they don't know that we had a ceremony.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, typically, I mean, you're not.
Okay.
I don't think you need a notary, and maybe it's required. I don't know. I don't remember if mine was notarized or not. No, it's a good question.
Write in and let us know. Do you have to have a notary?
That's a good question. Though.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Here's
but either
the
way,
thing, 214gmail.com. Let me know.
But either way, you have to sign that document. But they do it right immediately right after the ceremony.
Okay.
The what you see them doing on the thing is just ceremonial. That's
Okay,
all
so
that
what
is.
about even after that? Let's say that you're married for 5 years, and let's say things are not great at the moment. You're going through a lull period or something, and it's the same conversation. It could come up honestly till forever.
Yeah, whether or not you're still into me
Yeah,
as
it's
much
like
as I'm into you.
yeah, because if you're having a hard time, let's say you go through like a rough patch that's like a year long,
yeah.
you're going to be maybe unsure. Like, I don't know if they're still in it. Like, I don't know if they're as committed. Should I bring up divorce? I don't know what to do.
That's a hard conversation, but yes, unfortunately, you're absolutely right.
Mm.
You're absolutely right. So sometimes let's say you've been married for a while and you're like, yeah, we've been us for a while, but then when they say like we haven't been us for a while,
Yeah.
that's when that comes up because it's like, okay, whatever us used to be. Now,
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is deteriorating.
Yeah, you're going through a change.
It could be, that you're going through a change and, what you guys look like now is different just because of circumstances, whatever
Right.
that might be. But yes, at some point you do have to stop and pause. Now, here's the tricky part about that. Okay?
Okay.
Here's the hard part because they can technically still love you, but they might not be in love with you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part right there because it's different. Because if you just ask me, do you still love me? It's like, yes, of course I still love you. But do I want to still be with you? I don't know.
So basically, every step of the dating process up until marriage we're doomed.
Well, even after the
don't.
marriage, apparently.
Yeah.
So it still continues even after. It's not that you're doomed, but I will say this, and this is the best argument that you can make for open communication, is that if you, I can't remember what the suggestion is, but most couples, they need to talk. They need to make time to talk to one another.
Yeah.
And not just the serious stuff, just the random, mundane, how's your day? Tell me about what's going on in your life right
I
now.
saw a daisy with only 3 petals on it today.
You know what I'm saying? Was that you? Like, yes, I knew where it was going and I stopped. Because once you go to the completion, that's it. It's sedimented.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that. But yeah, I think that's why you have these open dialogues with one another.
Yeah.
And you talk things out and you can kind of gauge like what's going on with you, like something going on.
And sometimes
blah,
it's
blah,
going to hurt you what they're going to say. So
Yeah.
you have to be also ready and be like, okay, I'm going to talk to them and what they say, I may not like it,
blah. Right.
but like it has to be said, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why you have to make a stronger bond with one another.
Yeah.
Because outside forces are hard to combat. Whether you're dating,
Yeah.
or married,
Right.
it's outside forces. Whether it's like relatives, could be other people at work.
Yeah, if you were stranded on an island with this one person, you're probably going to work out
Yeah.
unless you just can't.
That's all you have
Even
is
if
each
you
other.
hate each other, you're going to have to turn because there's only 2 people left.
Yeah.
And it's you two. You're going to have to make it work.
But it's a metaphor, but it's actually, that's a good way of looking at it, is that you're 2 on an island,
Yeah.
right? It's not everybody else.
Right.
Everybody else can potentially harm I don't see like outside forces. I don't see how they would help.
Yeah.
Any outside forces, anybody other than you and that person, I don't see how anybody else
Yeah.
outside of your relationship can help at all.
Right.
They can give you advice, but again, it might not be helpful.
Yeah.
They might tell you leave them.
Yeah. And you're like, but I'm on the island. There's only one person here.
Yeah. And mind you, they could also tell you like stay with them, and that might not always be the best.
Yeah.
So you have to work it through with that person. But I know people are people, so like they usually will, talk to a trusted friend or somebody, or just to
Yeah.
gauge like, this is what's going on. Am I being silly? Mostly, I think what they're trying to do is gauge like, or not gauge, but rather, they usually talk to people that have been married for a while. Sometimes, so it might be a parent, like, hey, we're going through this, and so did you ever go through that? And they might be like, yeah, we had a rough patch or whatever, or they could be like, yeah, this is normal, like. I've done that before. You've done that, but in a different way, where I've told you like, yeah, I really like this person. Blah. It's just like it's the honeymoon phase, bro.
Oh
Like
man,
once
I
you get out
crushing
of
your
the,
dreams.
yeah, it's like I hate to crush all your dreams, but I'm crushing them. Sorry, take the dreams.
I
There you
know.
go,
I
we're
wish I
done.
didn't do that.
No, but it's true. And now I have to look at things with a little more practical because I get emotional too, and then I have to remind myself, well, yeah, it's early on. So, but yeah, you've crushed it.
Wah, wah. Sorry.
But that's what I'm saying. But then you're like, okay, but if you get past, because I think it can last, I think I read it up to 2 years, the honeymoon phase can. But after that, usually you come back down to earth.
Right.
And I'm not saying that you don't love them anymore, but it's not the exact same as it once. And don't get me wrong, you can get those feelings back throughout the relationship, but like, you have to do stuff.
You probably saw a
You
lot
gotta
of flaws in
work.
those 2 years too. And it's like, okay.
Well, life
I've
being what it
accepted it.
is, right? You have to work. You have kids. You have to work out. Whatever your life entails.
Yeah.
Like you're just gonna go back. You're gonna be with the family, so you can't be with them 24/7.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it feels like you can't get enough of them, but you have to function as an adult in
Yeah,
society.
it's like,
You can't
I
just
have
stay
to
in
go to work.
bed.
I can't call in again.
Yes. So, but again, I think that's why you have to look at it when you're in a marriage or even just in a relationship. Because the moment you start inviting other people into it, it's not.
So the way to combat all of that in any type of relationship is you're saying to have that conversation to let them know that you're still in it. The reassurance part, you don't have to have it all the time, but every once in a while I think is good. Because if they were thinking that, they may not even bring it up.
Well, it gauges it, right? So for instance, if I'm married to somebody, right? And we have these ongoing conversations and they're like, hey, how's your day? Whatever. And then she brings up repeatedly that somebody at work is giving her a hard time or there's a bunch of changes. She's overworked. She feels underappreciated. Like I know when she's in like, if she looks like she's down or something, I can kind of gauge that's what it is. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like she's already expressed. And so if she's down a little bit, I'd be like, hey, you doing okay? Is it, is it good at work? Because now you have a point of reference.
Right. Because if she didn't say that, you may be like, is she not feeling
Right,
me?
right,
What's wrong with me?
Right. And even at that, like if you don't have that conversation, you can go out there like, hey, how you doing? It's like, it's fine. It's just work, but you don't believe it. And you're like, are you sure it's not me?
I
That
need more
happens a
details.
lot. Yeah. And that happens a lot is usually with the females, they're like, are you sure it's not me? And I'm like, yes, it's not you. It's work. Yeah. But you kind of distant. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm sorry if it's coming off that way. I apologize, but I'm processing things. But once they open up that door, it's almost impossible to close it. But if you have that ongoing conversation and then you ask them, because let's say it is work. So here's another scenario is that you don't have those conversations.
Yeah.
And even if it is work, now she's got to bring you up to speed.
Gotta tell you the whole thing.
Yes. So what you could have done, like let's say 20 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be a couple of hours for her to go back to the origin of where this began.
Like, who's Sally again? What
Yes.
department did you
Like,
say?
this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then like you have to do it. Mind you.
You can't be like, set the phone down.
But the point is that now she has to catch you up. And sometimes it's not even worth it. By the time she's caught you up, either she's more angry, and sometimes it actually helps out. Sometimes like she can talk her way out of it. But again, if you're waiting until something's wrong, that's when you can get in trouble. And if you have those conversations regularly, and then she does come down real quick, like again, you can kind of gauge it or ask her like, is there something else going on besides work? It's like, no, it's just work. Or it could be, yeah, I just found out, maybe it's a family related thing.
Yeah.
Like my mom called me earlier today and she told me something, whatever. And it's like, all right, if you want to
But
talk
for
about
the
it.
most part, I think it's the things that's happening with them are gradual. So to your point, if you talk to them like that every day, if it's something like work related, you're going to see that gradual progression of it getting worse. It's not just one day she's just like work
Right,
sucks and
exactly.
whatever. It's like
Yeah.
now you have all this backstory cataloging all these stories, and you
Right.
can see yourself like, okay, it started with, they were in a meeting and her boss told her to be quiet or something. You know what I mean? And how this escalated to.
Now look, and this is also a good way to also gauge. I know women probably know this way better than men, which is I think why they like to initiate the conversation. But you can also find out if there's a third party that you need to worry about. So if I'm talking to my wife and she keeps on mentioning Tom over and over and over and not in a negative way, I was talking to Tom and
He said
it's
the
like,
funniest
yeah,
thing.
exactly. It's like, oh, Tom bought donuts today. It's like, okay, this is like every time we talk, you're talking about Tom. So maybe I might need to, women are a little bit like that too. If I'm like, oh yeah, Wendy, she's super cool. She comes in every day with a happy smile. And
Man, my husband better not be telling me about Wendy with her smile. You better not come at me and tell me that.
you and Wendy went out to lunch today. We're having so much fun that we got back late. It was a good day, honey. What about you?
Oh my God, Jose, you're making me mad even just pretending to say that.
Wendy's been so great. She's helped me acclimate and she's taught me so many things.
You like her. You really like her. That they always say that too, to try to make you think like, oh, well, okay, if I would like her, I guess we could be friends. All of us.
Yeah, that's another way. Yeah, when you say you really like her, you would like Wendy if you met Wendy.
You guys are a lot alike.
You're like, okay, so when am I going to meet Wendy? Because I need to meet her now.
Oh, well, she's going out of town.
Yes. She doesn't really come out very much.
Yeah, she's not really that social.
She's a
like
private person, really.
private, me and her going to her house for lunch.
Or better yet, like if she gets you a gift, if Wendy gets you a gift and you bring home,
dude,
like,
fellas, or anybody. If that happens, you better not bring that thing home, because women, we notice everything, man. If there's a new tchotchke or something like on the shelf, it's like, what is this thing? And they're like, oh, well, she went to Maui and she got me this little magnet. Isn't it
for
cute?
my birthday or whatever.
Like, how'd she know when your birthday is?
She's gonna know. Wendy knows. That's how Wendy is.
I know.
She's very thoughtful, very. You're getting mad, so I better stop talking about Wendy. But
bye, Wendy.
But that's how you can actually gauge to see if there's somebody in there, right? Because obviously it's part of their life, but again, you're still solidifying that relationship, hopefully, because you're having those conversations.
I read an article. This was like yesterday. I don't know what I was looking up, but I came across some article about ways to know when your partner is being unfaithful. It was kind of the same thing. Like the tips on there was like watching for behavioral differences.
Oh yeah, guys get caught like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, if he's not really engaging, or maybe he's not at home as much, like something, his job is drastically changed.
Typically, again, if you don't have those daily conversations, again, they don't have to be like an hour long. It could be just 5 minutes, really, just to get caught up. But if you're not having those, then we as people sometimes just need to get stuff off our chest, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not there, somebody's going to fill that void.
Yeah.
Either that or they repress it all, which is also not good, and it's going to turn into an argument. But there's always somebody that's willing, and Wendy's just,
waiting with her arms like this. Tell me.
Absolutely.
What's going on?
She's very sweet.
I was like, you better stop.
I don't know what I would do with Wendy.
I don't know. I feel like we've all been in that scenario. You know what I mean? We've all been on the receiving end of that kind of conversation.
Sure there's a couple of girls out there that were the Wendy's too.
Yeah. They'd be like, oh, she's talking about me?
Yeah. It's like, okay, I see him over there. All right, let's see what I can do here.
I just think it's hard to having the faith that the person is in love with you too, and trying to keep telling yourself that. Or maybe get to a point where you don't really have to say it. You just know. You're like, my man loves me and I'm good. Everything's cool until you give me some reason to think otherwise. But we all question it because I think, honestly, it's insecurities about ourselves and like some of that stuff that you just can't get rid of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's good. I think there were probably times in America where you didn't, it didn't matter. Because like if you were married, you just weren't going to get a divorce.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a thing. So it's like, does he love you or does she love you? It's like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
she ain't
We've
going
already made
anywhere.
the
Right.
commitment.
He ain't going anywhere. So it doesn't matter really. It's a bad way to look at it. And
Yeah.
maybe, as they get older, they might reconnect because now they really only have each other.
Yeah.
Like that's it. We already made this commitment that we're going to die together. So
What if we got back to that time period? Let's say that we may revert back to that where when you get married, that's just it.
that's the way it's supposed to be. But yes.
I'm just saying, but like we're so far from that right now. But now it's like, yeah, I'll marry you for this quarter. You know what I mean? Like,
I
but
get you. Yeah.
but I mean, like, what if we ever get back to that? Do you think it's possible?
I think it could be. What I will say is this. Sometimes, not always, right? It's complex, but people get divorced for many different reasons. But it could be that the way they're feeling at that moment. And
Yeah.
that's why I always try to take a breath before I make any decisions when I'm emotional.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that emotion, it could last a while.
Yeah.
It could last a couple of weeks. And, if it's like, let's say I'm looking at, again, somebody at work or whatever, and I'm thinking about doing something I'm not supposed to, I keep ruminating. And it's the feeling like, oh, I'm getting the goosebumps again. And,
Yeah.
we're having a good time. And I'm having those feelings that I didn't have before. It's like, okay, great. Don't act on them yet. If you really genuinely want to be out of your marriage, go get out of your marriage first.
Yeah.
Try to make it work out or just say, hey, I'm out. And then pursue this one. But even then, think about it because it's complicated and it could get really, really messy. So once that the honeymoon phase or the infatuation wears off, you're like, okay, I'm glad I didn't do that. Because logically speaking, this is the person that's been with me. I'm thinking straight now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like
maybe
I'm
you're
not
just
all
going through that
fluttered.
hard period where it's just like maybe you just had a baby and it's stressful in the home and you're just like, I just don't want to be there. The baby's always crying. She doesn't want to be intimate. She's in a bad mood. Just let it pass. That most
Feelings
marriages,
come and go, man.
yeah.
Feelings come and go.
Look how quickly crushes come in and out. You're like one day you're crushing, the next day you're not. Like it's so easy. Just give it some time, like you said, to think it through.
Yeah, and you see that throughout relationships sometimes too. Like let's say it didn't work out, and you're like, I was in a different space. I was feeling this way. I was feeling that. It's like great, got you. But that's why stop making decisions when you're emotional because it could really get you in trouble in the long run, and then you have regret.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have stuck with them because now I'm in a different situation.
Yeah.
And at the time I was so infatuated and I was caught up, right?
Yeah.
That's another word that they say. I was caught up. I got caught up. And now I'm back on earth and I should have done that. Because we all tend to be impulsive from time to time.
Yeah.
It happens, right? You lose your stuff, right? If you're on the road, maybe you yell or whatever the case may be. My point being is obviously feelings come and go. So you might want to take a pause before you make any dramatic.
Yeah,
and even
before
if
you buy those jet skis, make sure you're going to use them more than that one time.
Exactly. That happens. And guys do that too. But that's obviously a lot easier to come back from than something more, life-changing, like doing something you're not supposed to or getting a divorce or, whatever the case may be.
But I don't know what we're going to need to go back to that where everybody understands and is okay or not okay, but like willing to make that sacrifice of like, I know marriage isn't always going to be at the top. There's going to be hard times and I need to just focus on my spouse and try to talk to them and try to work through this whole thing and we'll come out of it in the end, having that faith of that.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know if we can get to that. It seems, I'm not saying it's impossible, but.
No, I think what's happened now is people look out for number one, right? And that's another expression, but basically they look out for themselves. They're putting themselves first and foremost. And I understand the logic, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when you truly, really genuinely love somebody, right? I'm not saying you forsake your entire whatever, but there is a lot of thought into you genuinely want to make them happy, right? It's very few and far between where you have unconditional love, but it's almost that's what's required. You have it with your kids because it's like, yeah, I don't like what they're doing, but
or their dogs.
But I still, or their dogs, right? If you're a dog person, but you don't like what they're doing, but you love them. Like, I'm not going to leave them. I'm not going to like, okay, I'm done with you, child. No, I love you no matter what you do, even if you do stupid things.
That's a good way to look at it, honestly. We should think of our marriages that way of like, no matter what you do. I mean, I know there's some extremes, but it's like, I'm going to stick with you. I love you. And we're going to see this till the end.
Yeah. And if both of them feel that way, but that's what I'm saying. If you start feeling like And it happens, right? And both guys and girls, they do this all the time where they're feeling like, well, I'm not being fulfilled. Maybe the romance is gone on either end, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, talk to your partner. Genuinely go talk. And maybe at the moment it's not a good time because maybe your partner's doing something, but schedule it out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, because like you said earlier, you'll make time, right? You'll
Yeah.
make, and it works like that too. It's like, look, if you don't focus on your marriage, you think things are tough now. Wait till that happens.
Yeah.
You don't. It's like getting your on a little puddle, getting your foot wet versus a tsunami hitting you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. It will disrupt and upend everything. Family. So you got to talk to all your family and friends, your kids, the assets, the finances, everything to untangle all that. The mess that happens afterwards, I don't wish it on my worst enemy. So again, make it work if you can. Again, if it's an abusive, get out. Like you have to make that judgment call. But trust me, just think it through. Come back down to earth, and
Yeah.
maybe that person can fulfill that. You'd be surprised sometimes. Especially if you try new things with each other and stuff, like you might be surprised. Like you might fall in love with them again.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like, oh, I didn't know this about you.
Yeah.
And
Let's reconnect.
yeah. And,
Get to know each other again.
especially if you're trying new experiences, which is all dating is, right? It's a new experience. It's a shared experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you are fun to hang out with. And then, get back to reality. But my point being is that you have to maintain it like any other relationship. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to maintain it. That one in particular, it behooves you to really, really make sure you're doing right. But
Yeah.
this is a fun topic.
Yeah.
At the end, I don't know if she loves me or she loves me not.
Yeah.
But
Audience, do you love us or you love us not?
that's true. They can let us know. They can tell a friend or
Yeah.
hit us up. We're on Facebook, right?
How many petals we have to pull off.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you again for doing this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
All right.
you.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.